Okay, we'll go to our public hearings. The first item up is P50. And from what I hear, we're going to ask for a continuance for a date uncertain.
Can I note proof? The item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 1st, 2023.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. PDD 230100 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. The request is to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Do you have a motion?
I move we move it to a date uncertain.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. P51.
The item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 26th, 2023.
Good afternoon, Nancy Fredericks, Libraries Administrator for Pasco County Library System. I'm here regarding an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners relating to the Pasco County Library System, amending Chapter 58, Library of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, inclusion in the county code, and an effective date. The change is to amend Chapter 58, Library of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, to expand the duties and functions of the Library System Advisory Board to hear appeals of final determination of the reconsideration of library materials consistent with the requirements of the county's reconsideration of library materials policy. The decision on the appeals shall be the county's final decision on this matter.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for staff? Okay. This is a,
Public hearing?
yep, this is a public hearing. Does anybody here from the public wish to speak? Anyone on WebEx? No one on WebEx?
Not
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
Pleasure of the board.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
That's a roll call vote.
Oh, roll call, sorry.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
And District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay, now we'll go to our consent agenda. County Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. The staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If the staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If the staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial or there's opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation, the opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with the staff or Planning Commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request that a petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and
Ready to swear them in?
the swearing in, yes? And the swearing in?
If you're planning to speak to the next item, would you please stand to be sworn? To any of the public hearing items?
All future items.
If anyone's going to be sworn in, going to testify today, please stand. Raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Okay. All right, item P52, do we have proof?
Yes, the item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 1st, 2023.
This is Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development, PDD 23CU08. It's conditional use for Gulfview 9409 LLC. It's conditional use for multifamily dwellings in a C2 general commercial district. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of item P52? Okay, leave it on consent. P53, do we have proof?
The item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on April 2nd, 2023.
PDD 230319, a Development of Regional Impact Essentially Built-Out Agreement Amendment Request for Gulfview 9409 LLC. It's a second amendment to the Essentially Built-Out Agreement for Gulfview Square Mall, DRI, number 215. And it's on the north side of Salt Springs Road, approximately 320 feet northwest of the intersection of US 19 and South Springs Road, to amend the essentially built-out agreement to allow for an additional 288 units of multifamily residential development. Comes here with a recommendation of approval.
Okay. Is there anyone to speak in opposition of item P53? Okay, we'll leave those two of the consent items. P54 is going to be continued. We'll talk about that in a minute. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and item P54?
The item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 1st, 2023, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
It's PDD 230012. It's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, CPAL 2208, State Road 52, Groves. The applicant has requested a continuance to the May 23rd, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay, do I have a motion to continue?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And last item, P55.
The item was published in the Tampa Bay Times on March 1st, 2023.
Good afternoon, this is Orlando Borras. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it better? Okay, perfect. This is Orlando Borras from Current Planning. Before starting the staff presentation, I would like to submit some expertise into the record, which also a different document. It has some scrivening errors, so I would like to submit this into record.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And clerk.
And just for the board, I just had met with the applicants right before this meeting. Okay.
So this is going to be Palmway MPUD, PDD 237633. This is going to be the location of the subject property. This is going to be the zoning districts surrounding the area. And this is going to be the future land use surrounding also the area. The applicant is requesting a change in the zoning district from AR and AC to an MPUD, allowing 319 single-family detached units in approximately 116.75 acres. The applicant is also requesting the following deviation from the LDC 901.6.D.11, street access to adjoining property. Applicant is requesting to not interconnect in the south side of the subject property. PDD staff is amenable with the, to grant this relief, of this section of the Land Development Code, since the applicant will be providing an emergency access only to Fairwinds Road. This will ease the traffic on Fairwinds Road, which is not designed to serve high volume of traffic. This is going to be the master plan. And this is going to be the findings of fact. The LDC specifies that variations from this code may be reviewed and approved by the PC and the BCC during the public hearing held on any application for an MPUD zoning amendment. Variations should be allowed where the BCC specifically finds, in the particular case, that the proposed variations meet or exceed the intent of this code. PDD staff has reviewed this variation and have found that they meet or exceed the intent of the code. PDD staff has identified that Colony Road is a vision road. Will be the alignment is going to be shifted to the west. Therefore, the proposed development will not need to dedicate any additional right-of-way to this vision road. Before going to the next finding of fact, I would like to show you how it's going to be looking now, the vision road that is being shifted to the west. So, I'm sorry, can you?
Do I hear children? Oh, that was outside? Okay, I was wondering what that was. Someone wasn't happy. Thank you. who is the applicant again?
Oh, it's going to be Taylor Morrison, represented by Mr. Clark Hobby.
Okay, but it says Naturist Religious Society. So that's who they're buying it from?
Thank you.
While you're there on that page, before you
So
change it.
That's, yeah, I was trying to zoom in, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is going to be how Division Road is going to be shifted to the west and how it's going to be looking after that shift to the west.
Okay,
Previously was going to go through the subject property. Now, to avoid any impact on the wetland, it's going to go to the west.
okay. Now, that's based upon a route study that was done in 2001?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
That's done on a route study that was done in 2001?
Yeah, 2001, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, he wasn't in the meeting yet.
no worries.
Yes, that's based on the route study from 2001. There's a wetland right there. Obviously, that the typical vision map doesn't necessarily take that into account until the route studies are done. Then the route studies are done, and they try to weave around and reduce the impacts. So the preferred route is that route that you see there, where it goes just west. And in this actual image, the red line there that you see, the red outline, that is the westernmost portion of this particular project, so.
Well, let's keep going on. I'll touch more on that later.
I don't really understand what's going on there.
And the final finding of fact, I'm sorry for all this confusion. The proposed request is going to be consistent with the Pasco County LDC, Chapter 400, subsection 402.2 zoning amendment, MPUD master plan unit development, and with the applicable provisions of the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. Planning Commission and PDD staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, Mr. Starkey?
I don't know, maybe I should ask after Clark. Clark, are you making a presentation? I want to, I'm sorry I don't remember what the interconnections are, but I don't like not connecting to the south or having a stub out. Yeah, I understand it's a nature, and I understand it's a unique neighborhood to the south. Is it a gated neighborhood to the south?
It is not gated. For the record, Clark Hobby and Hobby, PA 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida. Commissioner, I can go through our presentation and give you a little better feeling of some updates that we're going to make in the area. May help your thoughts about this and be a little bit more consistent with them. So let me just run through the presentation generally. We have our whole team with Atwell here. Steve Henry's here on traffic, and Brian Skidmore's here on environmental stuff. So I'll just get to it. You guys are generally familiar with the area, as you'll see in a minute. The site's about 117 acres. It's Res 3. This whole area is basically Res 3 or Res 6. And as you'll see in just a minute, the area is basically from the Colony Road, where it's going to go straight up to Hudson Avenue. Almost all of the parcels between there and the Suncoast have been built out. You can see there's the Res 3 and Res 6 areas, and you're looking generally at Meadow Oaks to our closer to us on the eastern side, and then Lakeside, which is in the Res 6 area that's off of Hudson Avenue up there. They're both substantially larger than this project. They're roughly 3 times. Each one of them is roughly 3 times the size of this, and they both have the same lot sizes. The area has been Res 3 that we're in for a long period of time, so there's really nothing new here. It's been planned for being built out at Res 3 densities. It's not in the Hudson rural area, which is on the other side of Hudson Avenue. And again, here's the map showing you all the MPUDs and other projects that have been built out over the last 20 to 30 years. And again, Lakeside and Meadow Oaks, which are in close proximity to us, are roughly 2.5 to 3 times the size of this project and have the same size lots that we're proposing. So I'm just going to try to run through the access points here, and I've got a couple of updates that we want to make, and one thing that I did in the conditions to respond to general board discussion about smaller lots, issues that we're seeing in MPUDs, residential things, So first, let me discuss one condition that we added that's already in the package that you have now. We've added a condition that says if we do have any on-street parking, we will restrict it to only one side of the street, so that way we're not blocking people who need to provide services in the community, and we're not creating a problem for emergency responders. So that's already in your package. Then, what I do want to add here, and I guess first I should explain the access points we had already previously worked out with staff. So we had 2 access points onto Hudson Ave, and in working with Brad and his staff, we had already aligned access points on the east that go through an area of Mr. Wynn's property. He'll probably speak in a few minutes, but they align with an access that he provided on what's known as Wynn Lane to one of his neighbors, and it gets out over to Wynn Ranch Road over on that side. Then on our western side, we have an arrow over there, and in both of these cases where the arrows are on the one I'm speaking of now and the previous one, we've agreed to stabilize the area and to make a contribution to the county for paving that when the time is right, okay?
Paving what?
Paving the stub out from where our street would be back to our boundary line, and we're giving an easement over it so that the neighbors can get into our project and through our project on both of those.
Is
Okay.
that shown here? Because I don't see.
It's in the conditions. That's in the conditions, but it's for those 2 arrows, the one on the western side and the one on the eastern side. Now, one of the changes I want to make, the one that's shown on the western side, we are going to, and I'm going to ask the board if it, approves this, to make a motion to include moving that access point down to align with the southerly east-west road that's just south of where it is now along the western side. So the southerly east-west road, it would be moved south from where it's shown on the master plan down to align with that. As you heard from staff, Colony Road, while there is a little small, like 10 or 20-foot area of existing right-of-way, that's not where the road ultimately is going to be widened up to Hudson Avenue. And we're trying to get it as close as we can to align with where it starts peeling off of this site so that there will be a good functional interconnection there. Now, Commissioner Starkey, with regard to the connection to Fairwinds, if you all don't mind, and this may take just a little bit more, and I want to respond at length to Commissioner Starkey's concerns, I want to make a change to the conditions about Fairwinds, and let me explain my logic to you, if you'll allow me. We only have 30 feet of area or right-of-way to get to Fairwinds. We do not have enough area to have a full vehicular connection. So previously, the conditions required us just to provide the emergency access, which is just a stabilized road for them. It's usually dirt, but stabilized, so emergency access could get through there. In discussing it, and you all saw I had an ex parte, in discussions with staff and Commissioner Mariano, I can say now, we knocked this around a bit, and I think the best thing for us to do is we can agree we can pave a 12-foot travel lane down that area. It's not wide enough to pave a full road, but we'll pave it, and it's going to be, my motion would be, or to ask you all to make, would be that it would remain emergency access for vehicles, but because we're paving a 12-foot path, it would be big enough for golf carts, bike, and pedestrian access to Fairwinds. And again, my logic on this, Commissioner Starkey, is that Fairwinds, while it's functioning to some degree as a collector road for Meadow Oaks, it was not designed that way. It's not striped, and it doesn't meet all the requirements for a collector road. And also because generally we're up against a nudist resort on one side of the thing, we never thought that it was a wise thing to have a full access down there. I just thought it would not be in keeping with having a lot of traffic down there with a more rural area and a road that doesn't meet collector requirements. So that was our thought there, and we don't have the right-of-way to build a full road down there. So do you want to talk about that further?
Well, I just think it's really important that we really, really focus on connectivity. I can't really tell from this map, but you're saying you have a connection to the east, a connection to the west, a connection to the north.
Right. The only thing we don't have, and it's only because we only have 30 feet of area to get down to Fairwinds. If we had 50 feet, we would build a full-on road down there. We're not gating the community. That wasn't the intent. It's just we don't have enough area to build a 2-lane road there. So that's why our thought was really the smartest thing to do. Let's go ahead and pave it. We'll take all the retention on our site and all that stuff, but it would be emergency access only for vehicles. And otherwise, we can have golf carts and bike and ped on it. And that's good, you know, with the golf course at
Yeah.
Meadow Oaks.
So, is that the end of your presentation?
I can wrap it up now and answer
Hang on.
questions.
Yeah, hang on for a second. Let me get into a couple other things to talk about too, because it's, the interconnectivity of this area is huge.
Yeah.
And then it's another one of those fragmented areas like we have up at Hudson and New York Avenue where we don't have the connection. Colony Road, if you can put the map up that shows the aerial shot of the area,
Back to
That's what I'm trying to find on my map.
Orlando requested. It's not in mine.
that was actually a good map we just had, that previous slide. Okay. So if you look in the purple section where it says Colony Road coming up from State Road 52 going up, it goes past Fairwinds Drive into a cross road which is called Foxfire, which is the first lightly covered road right below the yellow section that's there. They don't have any connection to that property there, but the Vision Road takes Colony Road straight up until their section at the yellow.
Yeah.
And then it, as Clark said, peels off to the side of that retention pond and going up there. Now, that road study was done back in 2001. You could have gone either way with it. They chose to go that way rather than redo a route study. If we can get the land for that later on to make that connection, there's no development, looks like a lot of dirt bikes in there,
Yeah.
then we can make that road happen. You know, we don't have the money for the road, but with the impact fees that this would generate, you could actually improve this area dramatically by making that a connection from Hudson Ave to 52 for everybody in there. And that would probably take some of the stress off the Fairwinds Drive Road to get people that's going to go out this way here, if they're going to go north-south on Colony Road, they can go out that way, and that should take some of the stress off of Fairwinds. And Commissioner Starkey, I know there was some resistance, Clark, you can talk about it, for the people at Meadow Oaks that were worried about connecting Fairwinds Drive down. That's another reason why they don't want to pursue doing it, but
To their benefit.
if you want to go that way, politically, he's trying to save some heat from us, but if you really want to make that connection happen, I don't have a big objection to it. So that can be part of the conversation, depending on how the public comment goes.
So here's my beef with the way we approve these. And I would say to you and to staff, and maybe as a suggestion for the future, I sure would like to see what the planned road grid network is for roads. I have no idea. I am voting blind if I'm making a good decision or a bad decision that I'm going to be getting gridlock on some of these roads because there's no connectivity. And then I'm always looking out for a trail system. And where is it here? So I have no idea. I see this angle thing over here. Is that something that maybe one day we plan to put a trail on? Is that
Commissioner Starkey, that's the Colony Road extension, which.
that angle that's coming down from the A?
No, it might be helpful if we can get that other exhibit up that shows.
I just wish we'd get a map like that to, that we could see how things fit in the big plan.
Well, and I'll tell you, Commissioner Starkey, in that area right there, where that was just a little bit to the side, there's actually Peachtree Drive that comes down. We repaved Peachtree Drive, so the road comes straight on down, then it goes over to the side and comes back on down to hit Fairwinds to then go over. And that's how I would go to Meadow Oaks from my house.
See, I don't know that your area like you do. And so
Right.
we're voting blind over here.
And well, the sad thing is, they paved Peachtree without talking about it. They didn't even bring up the opportunity to actually look at using that route study to go get Colony Road done and connected, which would have been a much better use of dollars instead of paving the other road. So it is an important thing as far as where the grid is, but this part right here is a pure connection that needs to be done and can be done.
So Commissioner Starkey, the upshot of what you're talking about is this road, Colony Road, went crazy, sorry. It's intended to be a north-south, making a grid through this area, and it's a vision road, and the board approved a route study a long time ago. The only issue is the board doesn't have any funding for this road, but it's basically paralleling Hayes. Like in this area, that will be the main north-south collector road.
Where is my map of the road network and proposed or not in this area? How do I have no idea what's going on out there.
Brad Tippin, Planning and Development. That is a very difficult thing to do, especially in an area like this. We have vision roads, which we do have a general map of where the vision roads
You do,
will
but
be.
we don't have it.
Well, that's what this was.
I have no idea what that's connecting to.
Okay, that's Colony, right there, and the red line that's there on the outline is the western boundary of this property. So Colony comes up and curves off to the west of this property to get around that wetland.
I mean, it's Russian to me. I don't know, I don't have the
So-
picture of how people are going to get around in that area.
So that is what I wanted to explain real briefly, is that the roadway network connections that you're speaking about generally are not necessarily our vision roads. There are connections between subdivisions, there are local road connections, things like that. Those are not going to be on a vision map or something. But what happens is when one project comes in and does a stub out, there's a requirement in our code that other projects need to connect. So over time, that creates a network, which is why in this particular one, you see 4.
Yeah, well, I'm glad for that.
So that's one of the things that we do when we have these that are kind of in the middle. There's really nothing to show what you would like to see at this point because those others aren't there. You just have to envision that from this one, from those 4, those connections are going to be the connections in the routes.
Well, I'm still going to go back to my point that we should have a plan. And it seems to me that as we fill in, it should be adhering to our plan. And I'm not knocking Clark. I'm just saying we're not, I don't think we don't see that big plan. I just get little pieces and I have no idea.
And I understand what you're saying,
frustration on my
Commissioner
part.
Starkey, but I would tell you this. When you all speak up here on projects specifically or in general, it's taken to heart by your staff. And the reason why I know that is immediately after you all had a hearing a month ago, Brad called me based on the comments on another project that I believe Ms. Wilhite had and said, you better show an interconnection everywhere you can because that's what our board wants. And that's what we did here. The only thing I can't do, and it's literally just because we don't have the area to fit it. I don't have the ability to build fair
No,
ones as a road.
I'm
That's
saying-
my only thing.
I'm happy with your connections.
Okay.
I just wish I could see how
You could
it
see
fit
how it
into
works
the
with
big
the over-
plan.
And
That's
I
all.
understand that. I just
Nothing
wanted.
against you guys.
No, I know, and I wanted you to know that staff is taking it very seriously. And I believe it's staff's intention on almost all of these projects now, unless there's some really unusual circumstance that we need to try to interconnect everywhere we can when we come in with new, larger MPUDs.
And the other question I have, and I just asked the county attorney here, and I don't know if we want to do this or not, because it is another level added to us, but I'm curious about the site plan. But we're not going to see the site plan unless we ask to see the site plan. But, so, we don't know what are your amenities? What is your green space? There's a lot of houses here.
I
Is there
believe-
a clubhouse and a pool?
I believe, yeah,
have nothing.
we have, our
And a
engineer
hearing.
earlier, and he told us there are 2 parks within the site, and there's a series of other amenities. I'm trying to remember which ones. You guys want to cut it? Pool and Cabana Dog Park, and there are 2 parks. I mean, this is Taylor Morrison. It's a step-up builder.
But is this a build-to-rent community?
No.
Could you go up to the full map and let's, tell me where the roads are you're calling, because I cannot read that.
Yeah,
map.
we can't really tell.
If I can make a,
Some way,
See where
Brad,
you have
can-
all the connections, but I don't quite understand if you don't have enough.
let me make a suggestion for the future as well as right now. But I think if you had map pages up, where you could zoom in and zoom out, it'd make it a lot easier. That picture's a pretty good picture to look at.
Someone
It'll
could
show you
draw
the-
on it.
But again, if you could see like like, that Peachtree Road I could show you would be.
Where's Peachtree? Like, I can't,
So if you see where Hudson Avenue says, the H in Hudson, that road coming right down, that's Peachtree. That's the
oh,
road
that's
we
a
just
road
paved.
going in the angle?
No, the one's coming straight down, right below the H of Hudson Ave.
I couldn't tell there was a straight road.
I just wish we'd have, we just need that map in our packet of how it relates to everything around it.
Sorry, the pointer is also acting up.
That's a little better, but now tell me the roads.
Okay, so look in the far left where it says, top left of the screen, Hudson Avenue, and then that road coming north-south is Peachtree. So when I'm coming from, let's say, over in Hudson, and I'm coming down, I'm gonna take Hudson Avenue, I'm gonna go south on Peachtree, take the side road coming all the way over where it dead ends to Colony Road, come down, and if you raise it up a little bit, there you go. Then it shows you that road going across, that would be Fairwinds, I believe. Is that right, Clark?
Where's
It's
Foxfire?
Foxfire.
No, I know Foxfire goes across, but then you go from Foxfire
Yeah,
to the
then
end.
on this, to the south, so you have to move
Then
the
you-
screen a little bit.
then you go down
There
Colony.
Then Fairwinds is on the southern end there.
Okay, so
But
then,
if you take Colony up with the route study, basically what it does is get you all the way from 52 directly to Hudson Ave with all this 90-degree series of turns you have to make now. And again, when this stuff was built, if you all will drive this area, you know, it's a series of legacy, larger ag manufactured housing and
Yeah.
things like that that have been there for a long time, and they will redevelop.
They will.
But over time, you're going to need Colony to punch on through, so you have that connection.
Can we see that? Can you go? Can you
before,
move this?
before you go there, Commissioner Starkey, you
Yeah.
brought up a great point as far as the connectivity, and now that we're looking at this map, Lake Carlet's over there to the side, it connects right into Fairwinds going right across.
I don't know
so-
where Lake Carl is.
It's, if you could zoom it back out a little bit. Go the other way, I'm sorry, zoom in. So where it says Colony Village there?
Over here?
that's-
Yeah?
To the
right-
west.
It said, it was said Lake Carl, but look at how the Colony Village goes around and connects right into Fairwinds. Up here intersection going right across.
Here, this thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that goes right across,
I
that's
think what
Fairwinds.
Commissioner Mariano is saying is that Fairwinds, even though it's really not built as a collector road, it's already basically providing a good east-west connection.
It's setting up as that.
Right.
So what- now I'm, and this is making me change my mind, Clark, from what we just talked earlier. Now, if you would, let's go shift it back and let's go look at the connection to Fairwinds.
So the map would need to go a little bit to the east where that one little sliver is poking up. It's, if you stop right
Right, so
there.
you
Just
stop right there,
assume
it's
that
good.
that one little sliver is where our connection to Fairwind is.
Okay, so at this.
Where? I don't know where this little sliver is. What are you talking? That's the problem.
Just to the
Do you have a
north-
pointer,
northeast, just
Clark?
north of there, that one. just-
Look on the
yeah,
screen,
right
there's a
there.
little.
That thing?
Mhm.
Okay.
So that's it there. So now if we're gonna bring all these homes in, rather than having everybody go up and around Colony Road swinging back over, it actually makes more sense coming straight down, and then if they're gonna go to Meadow Oaks, whatever, now it's easier to get there. That does make a little more sense. If someone's gonna go out to 52, they'll go out the other way, they'll get on Colony Road, and they'll go that way out. I do think they will, if they're gonna go the other side, they may go either way, but it'll still break up the transportation network.
So are you saying that you would be in favor of it not being emergency access down there?
I'm leaning that way, but I'll wait for public comment.
Yeah.
That
But
seems
it's-
cleaner and
it-
better for the community.
It
No,
does.
Again, commissioners, just want you to understand, we don't have the area to build more than one travel lane in there.
You mean one way or?
Yeah, one way, it literally, we cannot, it's only 30 feet, and basically you need at least 50 feet to build a two-lane road. You can't build it in less than about 48 to 50 feet, because you've got to have side slope support for the road.
Is
That-
that where you had the exit road?
Right, that was emergency access only. And again, several of the, members of the public that aren't here but were at Planning Commission were asking us to make sure that was emergency access only, so.
But, and that's, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we hear that, but then we don't make our network, and then you know what? They're very mad because they're out on the collector arterial and they can't move because there's no grid. So they don't have to look at the big, long picture,
Right.
but we do. That is our responsibility.
Well, again, you all will do what you want, but the only point I'm trying to make is I can't build a 2-lane road there. So if I make a connection there now, it's only with a 1-lane road.
What's the minimum width for a road?
We need to pull this up on mapper, I think, so you have a better idea, where you can see the red lines here, those are actually the property boundaries. Sheik's Road is where we're talking about, that connection would be made. If you can zoom in there,
I'm
you'll
gonna
see
have to buy
that
those too.
there's nowhere to really take right-of-way from those properties. Those structures are right there, it would make those structures unusable. You would essentially have to take those entire lots to be able
You
to get
don't
a full
take,
road.
but you could
You could buy
offer a
them.
nice price.
Yes. That is an option if the residents want to sell, but it is a very tight location. That's why we didn't pursue this too far, especially since Fairwinds itself is not a fully standard collector road. It seemed like the emergency access with the pedestrian and golf cart connection was a better idea. Then we also put the connection that you see to the east, that eastern arrow, it's a little bit lower in the middle of the subdivision to be able to allow for some of that connectivity going across in that direction as well. So we tried to accommodate as much as we possibly could with the constraints that are on the site.
So
Commissioner.
you've drawn in a single lane exit road, and did you say a golf cart road?
So it won't be a vehicular road. It will be it'll essentially be a hardened asphalt, like a multi-use path, but it will be hardened enough so that it can be used by emergency equipment. If ambulance, fire
Okay.
truck needs to get through there, to get there. It'll be gated to vehicular traffic, but there will be a way to allow access for golf carts, pedestrians, bicyclists to be able to move through that area using that paved portion.
Why would they need to move through there? If it's an exit only,
I got an idea.
yeah.
I got an idea. Commissioner Oakley, the answer is you have to have this kind of emergency access, and so that's what we're trying to provide down there. But I got an idea. We don't have the area right now to build, the 2-lane road with full access. What if we do this in, 2 phases or as an interim condition where initially, and by the way, we have no problem with granting a public access easement over that stretch of the road. That's not an issue at all. But what if we say that it's going to be emergency access and we'll build the first lane, okay, on our property, and we're going to take the drainage, that's no problem. And then when or if the additional right-of-way comes available, you all can build the second lane, and at that point, it will stop being emergency access and would be a full access.
Okay, let
We
me
Wouldn't have a problem with that,
let me take that idea and go one step further.
okay?
What if it is a one-way and emergency until we're able to get the other land necessary? Because at
You mean
least,
like an egress as a for instance, but not an ingress?
whichever way is advantageous to the community, I don't know which way is better, but, I mean, at least let someone use it so that there's some
Well,
Merge
connectivity.
that,
The-
you just need to go out.
Yeah,
Okay, then,
I don't
is
have a
that
lot, I don't have a
egress?
lot, I don't think our client cares a lot about that. The
Yeah.
only thing I just want to be sensitive to, and I know you all appreciate this. I told several people that our intention was not to have anything but emergency access out on that road. And if the board wants to go a different direction on it, all I'm saying is that's the board doing that. And
Right,
again,
this is
I don't
public knowledge.
mind if that's where the board wants to go, to say that if you all acquire more land and want to add a second lane, that it will then be opened up. I just want to make it clear that this is coming from the board and not from me, because
Yeah.
that's what I told the residents.
And
If you're
Commissioner, when
telling
we,
people that's access only, for exit only, I wouldn't be down the road changing it to something else.
But
To
the
me,
board,
that doesn't make sense.
all right, but the board makes the decision.
Yeah.
And if we say we're
Not the
going to do it, we're going to make it happen, whether he said it, that he was going to pursue it. If we're pursuing it because we think it's the right thing to do, That's what we do.
And
What's
then,
that
and
do
then
to
we
the
can,
people outside that exit?
Commissioner
and
Starkey.
then we also continue to finish out the other roads in the area, like Colony, like you said. And so the more connections there are, the more diffused the traffic is and the less issue it is for anybody.
Yeah, but let me bring up an idea that could be another alternative to this connection that you're using, where you have properties that could be expensive to get later on down the road. What if you shifted over, and Clark, I don't have your map, so I can't see where that side road is that you had down with the cul-de-sac, but what if you took that cul-de-sac road and brought that straight down? Would that hit that other two
I was
properties?
wondering that, what that
It
was
at least
before.
goes through one. I can't remember if it goes through one or two. But again, the thought was
Right
there's
there.
already the Sheik's Road, that's there, and we're trying to take advantage of that.
I understand, but that, when you have 30-foot right-of-way and you got properties on both sides, it's going to be very expensive to buy them if they don't want to give it up. So what if you look at,
If you look at it, it may be two, because it's very close to where,
so you may just shift it one way or the other a little bit as you're
There's
coming
not a
down?
house.
we would probably lose lots, would be my guess.
Sorry, yeah, well, aside from those particular issues and possible impacts to the people that live in that area, one of the other things that we need to consider is the trips on Fairwinds itself. Once we start putting a lot of trips on that road itself is not necessarily standard to be a collector. So that's going to be a larger improvement that would need to be done by the county, likely.
It's a local road.
These are local roads, correct. And that's the other thing is when it's a vision road.
Most people are
we
going
can
to go out on
and-
Hudson. Most people will use Hudson. But this gives, then what if you want to go play some golf or go somewhere else? So,
I mean, the
okay to
trips,
use
the
local
trips,
roads.
the trips are going to come down there one way or the other. Now, there's another road that runs north-south that it could line up to as well, if you had to put it at a certain spot, but you're really close to a property line. You could shift that to the left, and now you just hit one property. I don't know what's on that property. If you've never looked at it, then so be it, but I don't know what's in
Commissioner
that.
Mariano, I don't want to play engineer from up here, but
Yeah.
I do know that the reason why the cul-de-sac is the way it is because we're trying to get lots on either side. And if you start shifting the road one way or the other, my sense is you're probably going to start losing a significant number of lots. I mean, our engineer's here, and he's nodding his head. That's the issue with it. And that's why there's the cul-de-sac there. Again, I hear what the board's trying to do, and we're trying to solve, a lot of interconnectivity issues, some of which have been in existence for a long time. But I really think if you think about what I'm proposing, that it be, a one-laner, and then if the county can acquire the right-of-way and have 2 lanes of travel, then opening it up as a road, that's not an illogical thing to do.
No, but it could be much more expensive. I've got to buy 2 lots for people's that homes are abutting it. I got to go spend a lot more money on the road when I go build it.
I'm not sure that we know that much. Now,
We don't.
okay, now, one thing we could do, and again, this is contrary to what I think Commissioner Mariano has been saying on other projects, but if we eliminate the cul-de-sac, we can bring it straight down in now. I don't know if we have lots on the south side of the cul-de-sac, though. That may cost us lots there.
If you
One
put-
lot.
I don't, Commissioner, I don't know. I mean, I have to check with them.
I mean, if you have a roadway that's going straight up to Fairwinds, you don't need a cul-de-sac anyway.
No, but it may cause lot loss. Maybe we should hear from our neighbors, and while we do that, then maybe I can speak with my client, see if I
Okay.
can see what's down in that area.
Can I ask one more question? And then
Mrs. Stark.
I think that's a good idea, and I hate when we try and massage them from up here. But is that dashed line, is that the main road, that's the road in the neighborhood?
Right, that's a series of spine roads running. through
Okay,
the site.
so where does that green arrow, what does that touch? Is there another road over there? Because that's not clear to me. Chic. I guess that would be Chic.
Which area?
I mean, what? Well, what does it tie into? Someone's yard or?
Originally on this drawing, that was not going to be a paved roadway. That's something we've added recently. So that would have just been a hardened emergency access, so that's why it's not shown on there as a roadway itself.
But what's emergency access to what if it's not touching the road? That's what I'm trying to figure
The
out.
hatched area right there. it
There would
comes
likely
up-
be like a stabilized way for the fire rescue to get onto the road to be able to service the neighborhood. I don't think they envisioned it being paved, but in this particular case, as Clark mentioned, they would do the single lane, and of course then to widen or not to widen would just be a simple matter of, is the property available? Because it's not likely we would be able to condemn for something like that.
So let me ask, is that road being used now by the neighbors that are right there?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 people that use it.
So you'd have to make it the one way, but it'd be above those neighbors.
Right, it would just connect to us just above them. That's right.
Oh, I see. Ooh,
And again, I think all we're doing is adding more connectivity. This is just so the board understands, and I get that the board is very attuned to this issue of interconnectivity, but what we're talking about here is far in excess, in my opinion, of what the code requires. I mean, we're going way beyond what the code requires and historically what we've asked people to do. I mean, we're turning the site into Swiss cheese, but I'm trying to do it in a way that I can actually deliver on it, and I'm not being untruthful with the folks that we've spoken with in the community
All
before.
right. All right, let's stop for now. Let's go to public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public here to speak to this item? Anybody on WebEx?
Mr. Chair, I have no one on WebEx for this item.
I did not swear in because I didn't think I was going to talk. Clinton Wynn.
All right.
Okay.
Is anyone else going to speak that didn't get sworn in?
He's got to swear you in up here.
Okay.
You ready? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
Thank you.
Clinton Wynn, 12709 Wynn Lane. I probably know these roads better than any of y'all. So, family's owned the property since '53. Fairwinds Road, and this is where I'm coming to you guys as a team. Fairwinds Road, and I'm not against the development. So just understand that. I'm not happy with the growth, but I'm not going to push back. Fairwinds Road needs infrastructure. Colony needs infrastructure. Bottom line first. When you guys had that map up there, the cul-de-sac, the 2 lots to the south of the cul-de-sac are abandoned.
yeah, I'm looking at it. There's nothing on it.
I'm sorry?
There's nothing on it.
Well, south of the cul-de-sac, they just tore down a trailer a year ago that was abandoned. I'm not sure what happened. Just to the west of Sheiks. So you have 2 lots. I tried to buy the one, but somebody else got it in the auction. Just south of the cul-de-sac. You have 2 open grassy fields that could bring that straight down if you guys would work as a county, but please don't do it if you can't even stripe Fairwinds. I've been asking for years. We still don't have lights. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Fairwinds and Colony, the kids are out there at the school bus in the dark, and it's just not fair. We've been paying taxes since '53. Now, I'm not that old, but it was my grandparents. And now I've been continuing after my father passed. So, Meadow Oaks, I work a lot with the homeowners association. There's no stripes there between the clubhouse and Wynn Ranch, really, because they've all faded out. We've been asking. So, again, I'm just showing you where the ball's being dropped. And if you're wanting to bring in this cool development to help bring the value, great. Now, Sheiks Road, from Sheiks Road in the 80s, I was going back through some surveys with Clark. I've given up 15 feet of my entire west boundary between the property they're proposing. So I have 15 feet that I can't even use. So why isn't that being accessed? Now, that's above the lots that the people have, okay? I did go talk to some people on Sheiks. The one guy's in Europe. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's just renting his house. He's out. He actually bought the property from Carl Thomas, who the builder bought. So we can do a field trip out there. I think you guys should put on your boots and go out there and walk around and see the area. I mean, I'm supportive, but we have to put the infrastructure in the area. Any questions for me?
I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
So you agree with the connectivity to Fairwinds?
If you fix up Colony and Fairwinds, because we just got a stripe at the stop sign at Colony and Fairwinds. We didn't even have that.
Yeah, the striping's easy. The Colony, we're working on the infrastructure to getting that done as well.
But I'm sure the people and again, when Meadow Oaks was developed, because we sold part of our property for Meadow Oaks, Going through Sugar Creek Boulevard, people cut through there. They were using our property before I got it back in 2015, cutting through to Hudson Avenue, and I locked it down. So you're gonna have people going out to Hudson Avenue through Meadow Oaks, Fair Winds, and then you got people cutting through to Sugar Creek, and you see the traffic stop at Hayes Road in 52 at 7 in the morning. I don't know if you've seen it, it backs up to Withlacoochee. So you're bringing all this development in, that's fine, but we have no turn lanes at Colony and 52, where the gas station is, and the Dollar General. No sidewalks, we still have people with missing limbs riding their wheelchair scooters down the middle of the lanes with no sidewalks. Unacceptable to me. Fair Winds hasn't had the grass cut back. The lane's too narrow.
Okay.
So, but again, I'm not knocking these guys. I can't stop it, right? I want to just hold on to my house. But the point I'm making is you got to put in some investment into Fair Winds and Colony if you even think about doing this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, and there's no one on WebEx?
No one is on WebEx.
Okay, so we'll close the public comment. So some good points brought up. We do need to put the infrastructure in place if it's going to happen. I think the interconnectivity is very important. And I think this almost takes me back to the Denton Ave project that we're going to look at, where we kind of looked at, if we're going to do it, and we're going to impact the area up there, let's at least put the money that's going to be generated back into the area. And not only do I think we need to do the Colony Road addition, I think the turn lane down on 52 is going to be important, the striping. Maybe get some lights in there, too. The streetlights is,
We don't have them on
So-
Trinity, we don't have them on
Well,
Starkey.
if I may,
we
on
don't
the
have 'em on Trouble
streetlights-
Creek.
at least at the bus stop.
On the streetlights, since it
That's
is a
a
local
neighborhood.
road, we
It
do have individual streetlight districts, which we run
Yeah.
as little mini MSBUs, if you will.
Okay.
And literally, they cost maybe $50 to $100 a year
Mhm.
in order to run and operate, if that's something that community is interested in. So that option is there.
All right, so we can go, we can approach that with the audit, with the people there.
Commissioner Mariano, if I might, just for a sec. I did speak with my client, and we can bring that road and stub out on the end of the cul-de-sac, so the road could continue straight through there the way that you're talking about. We can do that.
Okay.
So, but what I'm hearing you say or suggest, and we've got, two new members of the board here, and Commissioner Bradford's not present, but just for their benefit, on another project in this area, Commissioner Waitman, we segregated the mobility fees from the project for certain improvements in the area, and it created a nice little individual pot of money to address things like that. And I assume that's what Commissioner Mariano maybe has in mind here.
Yeah, as we talked earlier, I think that approach worked for that area. At least it made it better. I voted against the project, I believe, just because I just didn't think it was the right spot. But I appreciated what you did coming up with the idea to use the impact fees for the area. Mr. Goldstein.
Commissioner, I just want to caution you, though, that this is all one mobility fee area, and I know there's other roads in this area that are important to you. For example, Hicks Road. There's other roads in the area that mobility fees would be used to fund, and so when you say the mobility fees from this MPUD are only going to go towards Colony or maybe Fairwinds, that does impact your ability to do other roads in the area. And my recollection is with the other MPUD, it was a much bigger area that the mobility fees were earmarked for. It wasn't just one particular roadway. So I'm just concerned about when we go to fund a road like Hicks or other roads that are important to you and that are important to the board, that's going to be adversely impacted when you're saying the mobility fees have to go to a road like Colony.
So if you could put the screen back up that show the developments in the area, I'm gonna make a point with you to kind of show you why the concern's there.
PowerPoint.
While we're waiting for that, I would echo David's sentiment. I would urge caution on that, because our impact fees are set up on zones. And in those zones, we have projects, and those projects are prioritized, and they are large dollar projects. Smaller projects such as this may not generate enough revenue to do some of the improvements that you may want to see, and in which case it may not work out. So scale is important, priorities are important, and again, I would just urge caution if we're looking to redo how we do our mobility fee districts.
I appreciate that, but here's what can happen to an area. So we've had this route study done since 2001, okay, before I was here. 2001, the road study is done, here's where we need to go. We know we want to connect 52 to Hudson Avenue. It's been all those years, and we haven't done it yet. In the interim, Meadow Oaks, Lakeside, probably some work in the Word of Life over there, Plantation Oaks, some development there, Sugar Creek, development there, and this road never got built. Just like I had the concern up in Denton Avenue, we had the project coming in, nothing's going to get done. It gets siphoned away to other areas. This is an area that, it's not a super expensive roadway to do, but it's critical to the infrastructure for the interconnectivity. And if we don't do it now, is it going to be another 20 years before we try to go do it? Because something else took priority? I mean, I had Zimmerman sitting for so long, Ranch Road, sidewalks never get done, because it just wasn't a big focus, because other things took precedence. But if I've got a development coming in that's going to impact this area, I can justify to the people in the area that, look, the development's coming in, but the impact fees, the growth that's impacting you is going to pay its way to fix the infrastructure because of what they're coming into. If I don't designate it or try to get it designated, I'm afraid we'll get more of the same, and this thing never gets built out. Literally, Peachtree never should have got done. That should have been focused over here. It should have been brought to the board. Instead, just one day, Peachtree's paved. So as a board member, as a district commissioner, I'm saying to fix this neighborhood, to get this done, with a road project been sitting as a road study done for how many years? I can go with the development, but it's got to be cohesive to what's going on in the neighborhood. So that's why I'm asking for it again, like I did before. And I'll vote for this one if we can get that done.
Well, of course, this is a board discretionary issue. I think really what the board does with our mobility fees, I don't believe that we have any objection to doing that. Is I guess the best way to say it. But I mean, it's a board decision as to whether we would segregate the fees for this one.
I think he wants
If y'all
to
don't mind.
I think he wants to
I just
speak.
want to ask him something. If
Okay.
y'all can discuss.
And can someone tell me so their road is not, their yellow line is not touching 52? What's going on up there? Do you see that? What is 52 is that hump
You
getting
mean
straightened?
Hudson?
Oh, Hudson, I'm sorry, yeah, Hudson. What's going on up there? Is Hudson going to be straightened out? Is there some issue why your line doesn't go along the Hudson Avenue, your property
I think
line?
the road was, the reason why it's not following our boundary is the road was moved over time. It went up.
Really?
Might have been for,
That was for the
Flooding?
drainage or bridge. There's like
Drainage,
a
okay.
bridge there.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Waitman, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Clark, for a bit of, you're a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many violations.
So, a question about Hudson Ave. So, we look at these projects and you're moving east to west along Hudson Ave. You know, Hudson Ave kind of reminds me of how State Road 52 used to be, right?
Right.
2-lane, straight. These projects keep coming along. What are we looking at if there's a rural corridor to the north, an opportunity, for change there potentially? And as we keep moving along west, I think Hudson Ave will probably use, it's used a lot if you drive it. There's some rough patches along the way just because of, heavy traffic and some of the commercial traffic along there. Do we need to start taking kind of a different look at it? Is it, soon to be the first, another sibling to 52 as an east-west corridor? I know everybody's talking about north and south, but it traveled even more, and it does bottleneck at Hayes and in Hudson Ave. I take it to work, and Hicks moves a little bit more smoothly than the going eastbound.
Well, the area in general and Hudson, obviously it's a collector road and it has been for many years. And the stretch between we are and where we are to Hayes from a capacity perspective is in good shape. But I think what you're observing, and Commissioner Mariano is well aware, we've also got this employment node over by our facility and all the other stuff that's going on off of soft wind. And so over time, I envision Hudson becoming a much more significant road. It may be 4-laned one day and be a more significant east-west road. Right now, it's not needed. The traffic studies show you if we took a growth rate that was like 4 times greater than what we normally use, there's still capacity there. But it's, you know, as you see these projects building out and you see our employment on the eastern end of it over by Shady Hills Road, this is becoming a significant area for a bunch of reasons. And it's all working together. That's the good news, is there's going to be employment opportunities in close proximity here, but it's not going to be a sleepy, you know, rural feeling road over time.
And something to think about with these networks that are in here, for where you see Lakeside, Meadow Oaks, et cetera, all those people, if they're going to go out to Hudson Avenue or Colony Road, they get to 52. When you get all this development that from 52 connecting Hudson Avenue, it's such a amount of traffic that could be so much better spread up. Because otherwise, you've got to go all the way down to
Hicks or
Hicks.
Hayes.
Hicks, yeah, go down Hicks Road that way, the other way. And you get the school down there, and when the school's crowded, it's a logjam. I mean, even right now with the new busing thing was going on, literally it was a 45-minute drive from Hicks Road to get to Hudson School in the property.
So,
Yes.
I understand your point, and appreciate your point on these interior roads here, and to Mr. Hobby and his client's point, to make a decision on this project with a caveat that the roadways that you refer to get built kind of don't really work. But would we be, if we were to approve this project as is, am I hearing that we can all but guarantee funding and these roads be dealt with in an expeditious manner? Is that kind of what I'm hearing? I guess that's a county attorney
Commissioner,
question.
if I might, because I worked on the other one. I think what we're proposing, or Commissioner Mariano's proposing, and I'm saying we don't object to, is that if you did segregate the funds from this project for these various projects, and the two that Commissioner Mariano was talking about were Fairwinds improvements and Colony Road, and it may be that you want to, just throwing this out there to David's point about how we did the other one, we looked at a larger area. Maybe we look at the area from 52 to Hudson, with Colony being the boundary on the west side, and go over to Hayes, and then at least you're looking at a larger area. But with understanding Colony and Fairwinds are really the focus points, then that gives the boards at least segregated funds for this area for whatever the priorities are.
Well, I don't want to necessarily do that, because I don't think we're going to need all the money that we're going to collect from these funds, from this development, to pay for it. So what we don't use can stick right back in the fund and use it in the general area. As long as I take care of the issue that this is going to create.
Just those two roads is what you're.
Just those two connections is, I'm good with that, because that'll take care of that. And the excess money then can go back into the regular zone.
Commissioner, I just want to so I understand the Colony Road extension. I'm not sure what you're asking to be done with mobility fees on Fairwinds.
If I may, what I'm hearing is you'd like a certain amount of money, whatever the cost to extend Colony Road would be segregated from those mobility fees, with the balance returned to the fund. What you're de facto doing is prioritizing Colony Road. So if that's something that this board wants to do, I mean, we certainly can look at that. Now, based on the alignment, I don't even think we own the property.
Well, I do see that we have an easement there, or we have something from Hudson South on Colony Road. It says we have it. I'm looking at it.
You have a small easement area, but you're going to need to acquire right-of-way, as best we can tell, from 6 or 7 property owners, including a longer stretch through one property owner that abuts Hudson Avenue to meet the alignment that you adopted.
Sackleson?
Starts at Hudson Avenue, and then it comes in at a curve.
So so that was going to be my question. Is that pond that's on your western border, what is that? Is that a class?
The road's not going to go through. The board already adopted a route study that has the road going to the west of that. That's what the graphic was showing you earlier. So
Oh, that's what that was.
that's the approved route study for the road. So the only real question, and again,
We have to
this
find
is
out.
really y'all's decision, is whether the board wants to prioritize the use of the funds, mobility fees, from this project for that project and some undetermined improvements on Fairwinds.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Clark, do you know what your estimated mobility fees are from this project?
I think we have just over 300 units, and, you know, I think we're in the middle district, so I'm going to say around 2.5, 2.8 million. I was just doing that on my phone, and I think that's a guess.
Does anybody know the estimated cost of the Colony Road extension when you include right-of-way acquisition?
We'd have to build a quick project. I don't think we could do that on the fly, accurately anyway.
Does anybody know the distance?
I haven't looked at it on our end.
I think someone could draw up map pages pretty quick and figure it out.
It says it's ag, but I can't tell what kind of ag it is.
My guess would be that that's not going to be sufficient to acquire the right-of-way and build the entirety of the road. That's just a guess. I'm not sure.
That would be my prediction too, Clark, just
Yeah,
based on what I
given
know
land
about your.
prices, I agree.
But, again, you know, the board can help set the priorities if it wants to.
But I guess that kind of goes to the point I was making earlier, which is if the money's insufficient, now you've locked it up for a road that will never get built or can't be built.
Don't say that.
Well, okay. Or that can't be built without additional funds from somewhere else.
We need more money.
It's under transportation.
And I guess the point I was trying to make, Commissioner, is I know we have a large industrial park we're trying to develop infrastructure for on Hicks Road, and I don't know if we'll need these mobility fee funds to help support that industrial park. And so I'm trying to say this for your benefit too. I mean, because I think your priority would probably be funding the infrastructure for that industrial park versus funding a road for a residential subdivision. That's my fear, is I want to make sure you've got funds to support the industrial park.
I understand.
Quarter of a mile.
Yeah, it's probably,
Well, that's as the crow flies, but it's not as
right,
the crow
it's
flies.
probably, I'm guessing, a third of a mile.
Third of a mile.
With a curvature, would be my guess. You've got to get all the way down to where the 90-degree turn is, too.
How you gonna approve this and then leave that open where you don't have those funds when you need them for that industrial park? I mean, what happens normally on roads like this, they're taken care of by the developer?
Not this kind of road, but I think the issue is, this has been a Plain County, it's off-site for us, but the issue is that just no money's ever been put in it for the CIP. How long was it?
I'd hate to see us lock that money down and then can't do this road and you can't use it somewhere else, so.
Based
Yeah.
on the length, I would say that's probably about half of what we would need, not even counting land costs at this point in time.
To acquire and build?
Yeah, you're probably north of 5, south of 10, all in.
There's no way you are to lock this up to where you can't use that money.
Yeah. I mean, I think,
We just have to come up
I
with
think we
some
have to
money somewhere else.
make sure that it's in our plans and work our way towards it, Jack, but I think you do yourself a district disservice if you tried to lock it up for now. But we have to pay attention to that stuff.
Well, regardless of that issue, I just, again, wanted to confirm, we will move that arrow to have a better alignment on the southerly east-west road, and my client confirmed that if it's the board's pleasure, we will make a stub out in the middle of the cul-de-sac on the southern end, so that if you all want to make a connection there, later, you can do that. And as I said before, we will pave the emergency access area so that emergency vehicles can get in there via a paved travel lane, which also can be used for golf carts, bike and ped. I think those are all good improvements, and how the board wants to handle the funding of this other road, that's really within the board's purview.
So can I ask Brad a question about your last suggestion? Brad, how does that work if it's a paved road? How do you allow golf carts on it without cars driving on it?
Bollards or some other type of structure, just to block vehicular traffic.
So you can put bollards up that are only wide enough for a golf cart to get through, but not a car?
Yes.
That's supposed to be
There's,
for
there's some ways to
emergency.
do it. I mean, we can work that out and figure out what would work best, but there's different ways to gate it and different types of ways to open a gate or have sizes of gates and different things. I mean, there's some ways that we can make that happen to restrict that.
We have to, or they have to?
They do.
I'm going to say if we are not going to get Colony Road done, then we need their connection in a regular connection to be down at Fairwinds. It's got to be a full connection.
I think it needs to be.
So whether it be the 2 empty lots or however we want to do it.
So that puts traffic and trips onto Fairwinds that weren't intended there. So there
But
would
not-
probably be improvements on Fairwinds that would be necessary all the way to Colony.
We'll stripe it and make it the best we
Well,
can.
with, I believe also, there are some other, we would need to look at it as a substandard road, see what the situation is, but it wasn't considered for this particular situation because it was an emergency access. But if that's going to be a full access, then we need to consider that.
All right, so let's look at from the bottom of their property that runs up. So can you shift over, Clark, and this is probably for the engineer, the single-family detached homes to the right and give us the right-of-way so so Colony can go straight up at least a little bit below the pond that's up there?
Commissioner, your route study it only clips our very corner.
I understand, but I'm also told that this $10 million road won't get built unless we find a better way. So if we can move your stuff to the side where it wouldn't cost you any lots, even if you,
The project wouldn't be feasible with it. I mean, we would literally probably lose 40 or 50 lots. I mean, we couldn't do it. And again, you have an approved route study. I
Wait,
mean,
to take out that
I've always been told by
cul-de-sac?
the county attorney, you have to follow the route studies.
Are you talking about the cul-de-sac? Sorry, I was looking
No,
at some
he's
code
talking about
violations.
if
in
I
there.
shifted Colony Road away from the approved route study through our project,
Oh,
which, I mean, that literally would lose like a bunch of
or just
views.
connect to it.
That's what we're trying to do, is provide the connection.
but they're connected to a road that's not built.
I mean, Colony Road is.
Clark, what if the connection were only, what if you didn't build the expensive part of the road that goes up and connect? What if you only build the connection to the south?
Yeah, to where it's there.
I don't know what that distance is, but it's,
The Sharon Street?
in other words, if you had a connection to existing Colony to the south.
Yeah, right there.
I'm not
Right
sure
there,
I
where it makes
understand
the
where you're
turn
talking about.
to Foxfire.
From Foxfire up?
Foxfire.
Foxfire to the
intersection
north.
of Foxfire and Colony.
You're basically saying extend Colony to that southern boundary of your orange arrow connection.
It's not very far.
The problem is there's 6 different property owners we'd have to acquire right-of-way from
I
to
just
do
see
that.
one.
I think he's talking about from Foxfire to the southwesternmost corner of his property.
There's 5 or 6 property owners we have
So
to
that's,
acquire.
that's not right-of-way controlled by the county in any way?
No, there's like 10 or 15 feet. It's like old platted dirt road.
So even that would require right-of-way acquisition,
Right,
is what you're saying?
right. Oh, but it were that easy. And the other thing, I discussed with Commissioner Mariano, we have no problem giving a public access easement from where our point of connection is through the project. So if anybody, if and when there's a connection made there, it's not like we're stopping people from coming through the site. That's not the intent. I just, can't build somebody else's $10 million off-site road.
Clark, would you mind if we continue this 30 days to take a better look at it? I mean, I want to try to make it happen, but at the same time, I can't bury the traffic for these people without trying to find the best way possible.
Doesn't even, it looks like Colony is owned by the Naturist Religious Society. How can that be?
Commissioner Mariano, my only concern is, I don't know how I'm going to resolve the county's, Vision Road construction within 10 days. Again, I don't mind stubbing out the stuff we talked about and building one travel lane and having it open up if the county can acquire more right-of-way. I don't have any objection to that. But I don't think that's going to solve, any long-term aspirations for Colony Road. And there are no capacity issues on Hudson, and we're meeting all the other interconnection requirements. So we're meeting the code requirements. I don't think I'm going to be able to find a conclusion on coming up with $10 million for Colony Road.
Maybe another way to build it. Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. This is the perfect scenario of when something isn't necessarily ready to be built on because the county hasn't planned appropriately, per se. I think what Chairman's asking is if it gives the county 30 more days so we as a county can figure out and give Ms. Carballo, whoever in his team, time to really think about the connection here. We're adding, this is exactly what folks that we see every day in Publix and wherever else, you allowed a project to come in and the infrastructure wasn't ready. And that's kind of what we're up against here. We're not saying
I
no
understand.
to the project, but I think what the chairman's asking is
I'm
fair.
always predisposed when a commissioner asks for a continuance that we grant it, and I'm going to agree to it. But what I am going to say in this particular circumstance is we're not required to do anything further for this project, and it meets all the code requirements, and it's providing as much or more than all of the projects in the area.
I don't think that's what's being asked
Okay,
here.
I know, I want to say that on the record.
Of y'all.
I know,
don't think.
I understand. And again, we worked out the other one. I had a little bit more time to work it out, and, I'll try to work it out here. Commissioner Oakley, yeah, you have a question for me?
Take the
I didn't know if he had, he was holding
want
up
the
the hand,
chair?
looking at me. I didn't know if he was trying to ask me a question.
Commissioner Oakley.
Mr. Kapala, where do the funds actually come for this type road? I mean, we come out of our budget to do this, or where do we get those funds?
So if we were to do this type of project under the Engineering Services Capital Program, it would come from a combination of mobility fees, TIF fees. Usually your TIF subsidizes the mobility fee discounts that we give to encourage development. So it would come from those two primary sources, and then a smattering of other sources depending on whatever, types of amenities or things that we would put in. Sometimes
So
penny funds. It just depends on the individual.
Is the value of this road important that we look at doing that without stopping this project from just going forward?
I think you have to look at it in the totality of your program, and then you prioritize where you want to spend your money.
Well, and we don't have that prioritization here to make that kind of decision.
We don't have it here today, but it
Yeah.
has been prioritized, and it's there. We can certainly go through with it, but, yeah, I mean, no, obviously, it's not on the priority list right now, I can tell you that.
Well,
Commissioners, if I continue for 30 days, that will allow me to work with your staff to get a better idea of these costs, what the project may generate in addition to mobility fees. I'll get a better answer on that, what the increase in the TIF increment might be, and we can get a better sense of these things, and then hopefully we can find some common ground with the board on it.
Mr. Nguyen might help us with some of the neighbors we need.
And we can certainly refine
I
those
mean, we got a
costs.
bunch of things we can actually work on. So 30 days would be helpful. At least we can at least carry the conversation from here. I want to try to help the project come in, but at the same time, I want to protect the neighborhood and protect our infrastructure
I
too.
understand.
So,
I understand what you're saying. Can
Mr.
I just check my calendar to make sure I understand what's on the calendar? Because we've got a bunch of projects coming up. So if it's continued for 30 days, that would put us at the May,
May 23. Is that a meeting or not?
is it May 23?
I thought I
Okay.
heard somebody say
that's-
May 23rd was
that's
one of our
fine with me.
meetings. I don't know.
Okay.
I
So,
haven't looked
Mr.
at
Chair,
it.
can I ask a clarification question?
Yes, please.
Is it being continued to primarily to look at Colony, or did you want staff and the applicant to look at the 2 lots south of their project to connect to Fairwinds?
That seems the
I wanna look-
cheapest to
I want to
me.
look at everything. So
Okay.
everything we've talked about, let's go take a look. If we got a better suggestion, better idea that comes up to somehow
Because
protect any of
if
these
that
sites.
connection to Fair, I kind of agree with
Less
Commissioner
expensive.
Starkey, that's probably a much cheaper,
Yeah.
it's probably
Yeah.
cheaper to acquire those 2 lots than to
Well,
build
I
Colony
don't know if
Road.
you need both, I think you just need
That's
one.
helpful to me, David, because maybe I'll have my client go try to talk to the people out there and see if we can
Yeah.
somehow work something out. I
Yeah.
mean, again,
Let's
we
make this,
we were constrained with the amount of area. If that hadn't been the issue,
right. So let's just make this, I'm going to make this the best project we can, so let's go work together, and I'll work with you too
Okay.
to go.
well, I
go out there.
appreciate it.
May 23rd, correct date?
They confirmed it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll make a motion, we move this to, continue it to May 23rd meeting, 1:30.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hobby, thank you, and to the folks at Taylor Morrison, thanks for working with us. Thank you. Okay. We'll go to commissioner items.
Somebody got
Commissioner Oakley.
About fell asleep over here. I do have some items. The first one is on your screen right now. We went out and celebrated the fire rescue station number 18, breaking ground there, and that was on April 6th at Chauncey Road and Yonkers Boulevard and Zephyr Hills. That particular fire station was one of the ones that we, and if you'll notice the dust in that dirt that they're throwing, can tell you, we hadn't had enough rain, and even with I think we got 3/4 of an inch of rain the other day in the eastern part, it's still not enough rain, so we all need more rainfall. But that was part of the projects we had put to the vote of the citizens, and this is one of those where we rebuild this station from Crystal Springs up into this area in Chauncey Road. And the fact of it is, 95% of all their calls down in Crystal Springs were coming from this area up closer to Zephyr Hills. So it cuts the response time for 95% of their calls, and then they'll also work back toward Crystal Springs for those calls. And thank goodness, you'd think Crystal Springs might have more because of the area it's in, but actually they're up around Zephyr Hills where there's more population, is where they get the calls. So, but that's going to be a new station, 4-bay, could possibly hold up to 8 vehicles and house, I think, 12 people, if I'm not mistaken. And while we were there, the firefighters were there from Crystal Springs, and you saw them moving out there eventually as we were fixing to take pictures and dig dirt. They were moving out and had to move out because they had a call. So they were doing their job, but they were there to see this groundbreaking. I'm sure they look forward to this station. So next I have is last Wednesday, they had the Walmart's Health Center. It's a VIP tour and ribbon cutting celebration in Zephyr Hills. Tony Wilson, the center's administrator, she's been in the healthcare business for over 25 years. I didn't know I was supposed to speak, but they allowed me to, so I have to be careful doing that. But very good idea of what's going on with healthcare systems and Walmart. They did one at Weston Chapel. They did one. That one was in Zephyr Hills itself, but it's a full operating clinic I mean, they have dental, they have x-ray, they have lab work, you see it there, audio, behavioral health, and primary care, all in that one facility. Same day, same appointment time. They did a great job. That's I forget his name, but that's the dentist there in the center. So he's got his glasses on, he's ready to go, so. But all the girls work in and live in Pasco County, and there was one gal that did not, and she said, I've been trying to get my husband to change to move up here in Pasco from Tampa, but he works at Tampa General Hospital, so he's not moving away from his travel, so it's, but it's very good, very good crew. A lot of people work there, and they're gonna take care of a lot of people. I'm gonna make another visit out there this coming week to see how many people it just seems like one of those places would be easy to go to and get care right away, which is very much a good asset for our community. Then on Friday, I had the privilege to join Senior Services Patron Appreciation Luncheon held at the First United Methodist Church. As music and games, an opportunity to meet new friends. Thanks go out to Brian Thomas and their team for a great event they put on that day, and I was telling Kathy earlier, I usually see her at that event, and it really turned out very nice. Marie went with me. Bob Hatfield was there, and then this one lady, she'd been sitting by herself, and we asked her to come up and take a picture with us. So she did, but answered several questions and got to visit with them, and it means so much to them to have these dinners and get to speak to people that, like myself and others, that they don't get to see, and know that we care about them, and the services that we offer are very much needed by the senior citizens. And it's very close to my heart when you talk about veterans and senior citizens, because I'm the only one up here that's both a veteran and a senior citizen. So, well, that's all I had.
Okay, Commissioner Waitman.
Good deal. Thank you. All right, well, first, thank you for your board support on our build-to-rent item today. Very much appreciate the discussion there. I wanted to just follow up, make sure staff, you know, of our conversation of last week on the VOPH items where we talked about the road width, distance on cul-de-sacs and neighborhood parks moving into the future. I don't necessarily think we should get into it today, but just be mindful of moving forward how we can ensure that other commercial traffic outside of just fire rescue traverse those roads. I mean, there's a lot of services that modern-day residents provide that the other vehicles use. So I think that's worth a conversation and some stakeholder input on those items. Next, we had, thank you, Chairman, for putting us on canvassing board. Talk about an experience. We had municipal elections and worked a different level of elections this last week on the canvassing board, and Brian Corley and his team did a fantastic and a very efficient job, and it was very interesting to see what happens after the vote leaves the ballot box, and very professional group there, and it's good to be part of that phase of the process. So thank you to Mr. Corley and his folks. We also went down, Andy and I went down to the District 7 office and spent some time with Secretary Gwynn and learned a little bit more about DOT. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go down to DOT, on these screens are real-time pictures. I assume probably senior board members have gone, but it was.
I've never been in that room.
It's worth a tour.
That is fascinating.
They can't quantify, so there's FHP in the building, DOT in the building, and literally real time on heavy traffic congestion. They're changing light cycles and times. If there's an accident happen, they're calling right away. There's no real way to quantify the amount of lives or people that have been saved in time that people get back from being stuck at traffic. You might feel like you're being held hostage in traffic forever, but you're literally getting home quicker. So it was a great conversation with him and about our roads. Pasco's roads, specifically, the 54 section there, we discussed in front of Saddlebrook, in that stretch of road from the interstate moving east, 54-way on light timing and, with all the projects and the volume of folks coming in. But it's really worth your time to go have some one-on-one with Secretary Wynn and meet his team. Knowledgeable. One gentleman's been there. He's in the very far back right. 38 years he's been working.
Wow.
And specifically in our area. And the level of transportation and traffic and logistics, pretty second to none. So great experience, and appreciate our DOT team and everything they've done for us. And then lastly, over the weekend, we went to the Pasco County Beer and Burger Fest at Heritage Park in Land Lakes. And our solid waste and recycling team, Pasco Solid Waste and Recycling Team, were the Pasco County sponsors of this event. And so, special thanks to John Batista, Rachel Batista, Carrie Kimball, and Shannon Kennedy. They all did a phenomenal job, great music, ate about 10 different hamburgers, judging hamburgers and trying to score them. It was, it was very filling. The burger that won, of course, it's been dubbed the Commissioner. It had like a waffle in it and bacon. It was like it was fantastic. You can see it there, that front burger.
Wow.
That's the Commissioner right there. It easily, that was the first burger, and it walked away with first prize. As you can see, each burger came out that size.
Oh, my gosh. Did you have to eat the whole thing?
We were finished. It was tough business.
You
eating
couldn't do
burgers
that.
and judging beers.
Such a tough job.
Yeah. So it was a great group. Everybody had a wonderful time, and it was a third annual, and seems to be growing every year. So great work to folks that put it on and the county staff that kept everything clean, and the solid waste team, and had a great time. So that's it for us.
Okay. Mr. Starkey?
Just a couple things. First, the gentleman this morning talking about the sidewalks, and we hear it a lot, and maybe our new commissioners may not realize that sidewalks on local roads are the responsibility of the homeowner. But I can tell you, the homeowners aren't keeping up with their responsibility. And so I just wonder, if there's something we need to do about that, because if the homeowners don't fix their sidewalk, it becomes useless and dangerous. And I don't have an answer. I'm just throwing that out there. How do other communities deal with that issue? Maybe they fix the sidewalk and put a bill on the tax bill of the homeowner, or do you say you have X amount of time to fix your sidewalk? Are you allowed to keep your sidewalk in disrepair and cracks and missing pieces? So it's just not a discussion we ever had.
I'd like to just add something to what you're saying, because there was a gentleman there, Larry was his first name, I don't remember his last name right now, but he was he had one of those motorized wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And he's right there on 21st, was right there along, and cross, right there, WREC's main office right there on 21st Street in Dade City.
By Meridian?
He was
Yeah.
on the right-hand side, the east side of that road. Neither side had a sidewalk, and he had dirt up inside. And there's no way to use this motorized vehicle on that side of the road.
I mean, what if you're a mom and you're pushing a baby to take a baby out for a walk, and none of your neighbors are fixing their sidewalks?
Yep.
So is there a
They're expensive to do, but
responsibility?
that's, I guess we just have to keep up with numbers and where they're at, and eventually get enough grant money to take care of a lot of that.
Yeah.
So if I may, I think it may be worthy of a topic to have Public Works kind of present to you some of the challenges. In some cases, we own the property. There are some sidewalks we maintain, others that we have not. Some are policy, others are not. It's complicated.
Oh, I know it's complicated.
And it's
a discussion we should have.
It's further complicated by, again, it becomes a revenue problem.
Yeah.
And so those are things that, Public Works has some programs already in place, and there are some challenges, but let me have Branford's team come back with something, and we can talk more about sidewalks if that's the pleasure of the board.
Can I add one comment to that, which is all the newer MPDs that come to you have conditions that say that those sidewalks will be maintained by the HOA or the CDD. So this is
It's
on a
the
co-
older neighborhood,
It's the older neighborhoods where it's
Yeah.
an issue,
but it is an issue
but
that we have left unresolved.
but to answer your direct question, legally, yes, you could improve the sidewalk and levy a special assessment on the homeowner. In fact, your ordinance, the same ordinance that allows you to do PVAS
Yeah,
allows you to also do that for sidewalks. So yes, you could do that.
so something to think about, which leads me to the conversation, I brought it up, Jack, last night. It's actually Senator Fasano who brought it to me. I don't even remember where we were at the breakfast for the Pace Girls, which was a wonderful event, yet again. And that is that Senator Fasano thinks that we can put some of these liens, when we go to clear out a lot, because they've left, the homeless people have been there and left a big mess and they haven't cleaned it up. He feels we can put that on their tax bill.
Interesting.
So our office has preliminarily looked into this. We know that we believe that Hernando County does it, but we're still trying to investigate the legal authority to do that. So we need to look into that a little bit further.
Well, and I'd like you to. So, right, that would be
Great
good.
idea.
Yeah. Okay, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I had the folks, if you guys remember, well, you won't, but do you remember Lane Gardner from Hines? And Commissioner Oakley, he's got a big project going up in your district. I don't know if we all fully realize how large Hines is, but it's one of the world's largest commercial real estate developers. But they did Asturia here, and they were the winners of the Ray's redevelopment project down in St. Pete. So Lane Gardner from Hines and Matt Silverman from the Rays were up at Amskills yesterday because I invited them to come up and look because their project in St. Pete requires some workforce development components to it. So I threw out there that, think of us. So they came up and they were impressed. Actually, Lane said, you know, Hines builds a lot of industrial developments, and these are the kind of things that our users need within those developments. So he had his wheels clicking. I attended yesterday, Jack. The reason I was a little late to the meeting last night was I went to the Orange Belt meeting kickoff for Land O'Lakes for the trail, and I didn't get to stay through the whole thing, but hopefully our consultants and our team had a good meeting. They had a pretty good turnout. It was over there on 41. It's pretty full. So, and speaking of that, I know that our friend Ray Gadd would have been there, but as you know, Ray was in the biking accident, and he is doing better. He's had a couple of successful surgeries and actually left the hospital yesterday and was moved to rehab close to home. You might have seen in the paper that, and I haven't seen it yet, but I hear the study may be done for Anklet River Park by Stantec. I haven't seen it, but I read it in the paper this morning. So I'm looking forward to getting with staff to see what the implications of that means, because apparently there's quite a few archaeological sites that we need to be very mindful of as we redesign the park. Seems to me we should have done that first and then done the design of the park. Because now maybe we've done a design of the park and have to rethink it. So I don't know which should come first.
Commissioner Starkey?
Yeah.
So are you talking about the people from, let's say, Oak Island that had done some investigating out there that want to go out there? Is
Oh,
that
you
what-
mean the gold hunters?
Right.
No. This is,
These are like cultural, historical artifacts.
yeah, this is what the state requires. And Stantec has an archaeological team on it, and they got the contract to do the very specific site for they did samples for the whole property. And I think there's more than one mound out there. And of course, the Spanish well, but I am excited about the possibility that we have buried gold out there, and that we bought the property from Duke, and we bought the mineral rights too. So don't tell them that, but if there's gold in there, is it ours?
Secret, yeah.
Is it ours? And if you guys don't know, there is the possibility of some buried pirate treasure at Anklet River Park. They've done some preliminary digging, because, and I can say this here because it was on the History Channel. There's a whole
Right.
captain, what's his name? I don't know if anyone here is going to remember. Do you know the captain's name?
Look it up while you're talking.
Yeah, there's a great segment on the History Channel. I have the link somewhere where they went out and did some preliminary digging. And they'd like to do some more.
So are you saying that there probably needs to be security put out there now? That's been,
Well, we do have a deputy that lives out there. But we were concerned people were going to go out there.
Public forum.
Have all kinds of holes dug all over that park now.
So, anyway, so the work on the park is ongoing. And lastly, there were, Commissioner, I don't know if you want to talk about London at all, but.
I am, just go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
we, the Global Tampa Bay, which is the trade arm for Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas County, did a Global Tampa Bay mission to London last week. Part of it was, well, the impetus was the celebration of the nonstop Virgin Atlantic flight from Tampa to London. And let me tell you, it's very high-tech. Because when you check in, you don't even have to put your ticket on the scanner. They have these screens, and you just walk up, boom, sees your face, and you walk in. Unlike the British Airways flight, that I came home on my own, separately from everybody, because I was supposed to go to an event Saturday night. So I did not take the Virgin flight back. I flew home on a credit on British Airways, and yeah, it took an hour to check in. An hour to check in, and then they had 80 more people than they thought they were going to have, and we didn't have enough food. So we sat there for 2.5 hours while I figured out how to get the rest of the food. So it was a nightmare. But the mayor of Tampa went, commissioner from each county, some business folks from the Tampa Bay area. I don't know if there were 30, 35 of us. And our friends from Moffett went. And I think for me, that was the best meeting that I went to, Jack, was when we went to the meeting at Saville's.
Yes.
And frankly, I learned a lot more about the Moffett project at that meeting than I have ever learned anywhere else. And I already have a meeting set up to help bring another company there with some folks this week. So, but anyway, I think that's it. That's it for me. Jack can talk more about
Okay,
our trip.
all right. County Administrator.
Just a few items, Mr. Chair. First, thanks for bringing up Commissioner Waitman, the Traffic Operations Center. I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't invite all of you to visit our Traffic
I've seen
Operations
ours,
Center.
yeah.
It's probably not as impressive as District 7, but a lot of the same concepts as far as running and routing traffic along US 19 and 54. So those folks are doing that every day. A couple of shout outs. First, the Public Infrastructure Safety Team. Safety is very important in our organization. We have a lot of folks that do a lot of dangerous jobs. And it was great to hear that the Florida Safety Council recognized the Public Infrastructure Safety Team with outstanding safety performance and safety leadership, winning both a gold and honorable mention in those categories. Third thing is, again, shout out to Code Compliance, Animal Services, working jointly with the Pasco County Sheriffs and the Dade City Police Department on a particular issue that didn't necessarily pan out in terms of looking at an animal fighting operation, but did yield finding a number of code violations as well as some stolen vehicles. So our team is working jointly with our partners out there in the law enforcement community to do good things. And lastly, where's she at? Desiree Wagner. Desiree, stand up, please. So Desiree has taken a position within the IT department. She has worked with us since November of '21 as our agenda coordinator. She is moving on to greater things. She's always been a rock star and has made this run seamlessly. Desiree, you're like a duck, right? Nice and calm above the water, but paddling like mad, you know, below the surface. But thank you for everything that you have done. You have done a phenomenal job. So I just want to publicly recognize you and give you a round of applause. So thank you. In the hot seat here, we have Miss Gina Jeffers, who will be filling that role coming up in the future. So thank you. That is all.
No, one more thing.
I've got one more thing, apparently.
Unless he's doing it. What about our joint counties meeting?
Yes, I'm sorry. And item C7 on your agenda was approving a resolution to conduct a joint workshop with Pinellas County and Hillsborough County Commissioners. I met with the other county administrators as we discussed topics. Most likely will surround resiliency, emergency management, possible affordable housing, and obviously topics.
Transportation?
We can
Blasphemy.
broach individual topics, but we're trying to find topics that we can
No,
have
we-
as a first of
We
many
all want to
workshops.
take on one commissioner in particular.
At any rate, I will be meeting with you to kind of go over what we would like to cover on the agenda for this first, hopefully of maybe many other meetings jointly as a region. But this is a great opportunity that's going to be on May 12th. And again, that's all in the resolution, so more to come. But thank you.
Well, I know the other two counties, we talked about it on the trip, and they're very excited about it. We don't have any mayors invited this time, but we thought maybe in a future time that we should invite some folks from the cities as well.
And I'll say, definitely want to do that, and I would make sure transportation's in there, especially talking about CSX and rail. That was a very big topic with the others, and I'll talk about my items coming up. So definitely need to add that in there.
Well, okay, Mike, if you want to go back to me, I forgot to say that I had a meeting with Swift Mud yesterday, and our park staff. There was a bridge that used to go over the Anclote River. I actually thought about getting married on it 31 years ago, but couldn't figure out how to get everyone out there into the woods. And our family called it the Big Bridge, and Stark family actually built that bridge twice, but it finally fell into disrepair a number of years ago, and I don't know if it was the county or Swift Mud who recently removed it. And my husband used to gingerly walk his bike across it, but a lot of people carried their bikes across it and carefully hiked across it because it got very slippery and some of the wood was rotten. But it's our desire to replace it with some kind of, another kind of bridge, to make sure that we have that connectivity between one side and the other. For one reason, if you're hiking on the southern side, and we hope to have another bike trail there in the near future, you want to be able to access the trails on the other side, and you can't go, there's no easy way to get across that river. And for safety reasons, if someone is lost or hurt, you need that accessibility. So and my impression of that meeting was that Swift Mud was fine with the bridge, and that the county staff was putting in a request for some money to explore what kind of bridge and what's the best location. And my husband does want to help with that siting because there's a reason why they put the bridge where it is. And he thinks there's some issues with where the county was talking about moving it a little further to the east. And then the discussion becomes who pays for it. And so I will tell you that when Wheelock went to buy the property from us, or well, when they bought it, there was an easement that our family had given to Swift Mud so that they could access the park from 54, so from the south side of the river. And when Wheelock went to develop, there was a, I'm not going to use the term that my husband uses, but Wheelock did have to pay Swift Mud a lot of money, almost $1 million, for them to vacate part of the easement. It just shortened it. Now they have a paved road to get to the dirt road to get to the park property. And so we put that money into discussion with Swift Mud if they could use some of that money that was paid for by the development into paying for the cost of the bridge, which there's a lot more money than that bridge would ever cost. But anyway, so hopefully maybe we even have a money source. But they had to go do some research. But I will just say that our first discussion was very good, and I'm hopeful that soon we'll have a bridge over the Anclote River.
Okay.
The widest it would be to accommodate like an ATV or something like that. Okay, and done.
All right, County Attorney.
So we spoke this morning about Senate Bill 1604, and I'm going to thank Andy for bringing this to my attention. Is Ralph here?
Tallahassee.
Let me bring this up at the next meeting when he's here.
Well, wait, it might be too late.
It's gonna be too late.
Yeah, bring it up. Sorry.
Well,
Let's talk.
Is this the architectural one?
Andy, can you come up and help me? Sure. Because I don't know all the details.
For the record, Andy Taylor, Legislative Aid to Commissioner Waitman. So the Senate bill, I'm going to be careful how I say this so I don't get a phone call later. The Senate bill that we discussed this morning, 1604, had an amendment that came out during our morning session. And it involves what they're looking to do involving Reedy Creek and the Disney Central Florida Tourism Oversight Board. So that amendment was filed with that 1604, and I think, David, the point we discussed is that, quite frankly, makes it more likely to pass.
But we could amend it again.
Could amend it,
But I think
yes.
the point that Andy's trying to make, and that I would probably make too, is that now that it has the Disney invalidation in it, it's likely to move quickly and likely not to be vetoed. So I'm not sure if we wrote a letter at this point opposing the bill, it's going to do anything. You probably need to ask our lobbyists to see if they can get the architectural preemption taken out of the bill, because I don't think you're going to get the bill killed at this point. Not with the Disney invalidation in it. So I just don't think we're going to have time to write a letter. Even if we did, a letter opposing 1604 is not going to go very well now that it has the Disney invalidation in it.
What else is in that bill besides architectural?
It's got some language regulating how we update our comp plan. It's got some new language about plats. It's got other semi-harmful language in it. But probably the most harmful language, I would say, is probably the architectural preemption. So my preference would have been they just put the Disney invalidation in some other bill.
Yeah.
But they picked this bill to put the Disney preemption or Disney invalidation in. So
Commissioner Oakley, then I have my
I'm
notes
just,
too.
I'm
Hang
curious,
on,
is
hang
it
on.
gonna do
Whoa,
away
hang on,
with
hang
the
on.
architectural?
I'm the chair. Hang on. All right. What, who sponsored the bill?
it's
In the Senate
Blaze,
House.
I don't want to say his name wrong.
Angolia.
Angolio.
Okay,
That's a governor bill then.
okay. Commissioner Oakley.
The bill will, if it goes through, it will affect our ability to control architectural views of homes that are built in
You
these
would not be able
developments.
to regulate any building design elements. So most of the MPUDs that you approve now have architectural and monotony control requirements in them. In fact, the MPUD memo that Terry brought to you 6 months, a year ago, established those architectural and monotony control requirements. And every project, even the one today, had those requirements. Every single MPUD you approve has those requirements in them. That's why I'm saying that would affect you. That's probably the most damaging part of that bill for you. Because almost every MPUD you approve now has architectural and monotony control
But they
requirements in
can
them.
voluntarily.
Commissioner Starkey.
Okay, thank you. Two things. They can voluntarily put them in, keep them in if we want a horse trade potentially. Can we horse trade? Right? Okay.
Yes, but keep in mind that if they refuse,
We don't have to
do
approve
anything
their
about it.
project.
true.
Okay, and
Maybe we don't like their development then.
that's right. And Commissioner Oakley, and board, when I texted both Brad and Kevin, about that bill while it was fresh on my mind. And I'm trying to understand where they're coming from, and maybe there's some counties that, don't have the price level of, the amount of entry-level homes that we have. And maybe they're trying to save, get some more affordable housing in those counties. So I'm just wondering is there some way we can creatively craft,
Who was sponsoring that bill?
Blaze, I don't know who it is in the Senate,
Who's
but
that one?
craft some language that helps our county. I mean, I think we need to understand why they're who's pushing that and why,
Who's pushing that in the House?
wherever, in the Senate or the House, find out why and see if we don't follow, that we're getting caught in a big net that we don't need to be caught in.
Yeah, I think we can have
There's
Ralph.
some, sometimes they do carve-outs. I think we should try and get a carve-out.
We'll speak to Ralph this afternoon. It was, I'm sorry, Representative McLean is the House sponsor.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Waitman.
To those points, so the bill that passed today, and then the other bill that
It passed?
well,
No.
didn't pass, but seemingly that the update came out in the morning session, and then the bill that passed, the bill that passed last board meet, what?
About a month ago, the Live Local Act is, I believe,
That-
where Commissioner
that-
Waitman's
that-
going.
I think we should all of us, I hope, take time. We've been studying it to really understand it and what it means to our
You talk about the industrial, commercial,
zone
multifamily?
properties, and I've asked Mr. Carballa if, when he talked to other county administrators, if that maybe might be an appropriate place to have that conversation on how we protect our job-creating properties for our cities and counties. And then especially now, when you talk about quality and value, the bill that's seemingly going to move through today, I really probably add that into the mix of conversation. But hope we take some time to really understand both of those pieces of legislation, what they mean, and, just we figure out how to respond accordingly. Because it could be a very delicate 12 months until North Florida meets again, right? So I think it's worth everybody's time to really understand both of those pieces of legislation.
And I'll tell you, I think for the future, we need to work with our lobbyists, our government affairs person, and when these things are happening, we need to be,
They need to bring us into the mix
we need
and
to be
get
in the
us
mix
activated.
immediately. I mean,
Well, this is kind of like one of those hurricanes that just popped up in the Gulf. Sometimes they form quickly. In this particular case, this particular bill in the Senate is going to the Rules Committee tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Its House companion will be at the State Affairs Committee tomorrow at 8 a.m. So we'll discuss with Ralph and our lobbyist, and perhaps we
That's the best
make a
route.
statement
Well,
there.
and then I have to defend Ralph for a second. He probably did alert everybody about this bill, and I know because Terry Pitos and I adversely commented on the bill, but it wasn't until this morning that we knew that they were adding this Disney amendment that's probably going to drastically accelerate the bill towards passage. There was no guarantee it was going to pass till today.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to add on that as well, the amendment came out during our morning session today.
oh, and-
You'll probably see it in the news because, as you know, Disney is a very hot news item, so.
And again, I think from now on, maybe when we're in session, when they're in session or even committee reports, that every bit through, as they're going through the committee reports, that every meeting that we have, that Ralph or a lobbyist is here telling us what's going on. So we get like an update every 2 weeks, just as we're going along, from committee reports all the way through to where we are.
As we revamp our legislative process, we can work that in.
Okay.
Did we even talk about the bill that is limiting the terms a commissioner can serve? Did that go through? I mean, what happened with that?
They're still working it.
I don't know. It's in the Senate. I don't know about the
I don't
House.
think that's a
Yeah.
good idea at all, and I tried talking to Blaze about it. And I heard is it retroactive to your election, Seth?
I believe so.
It just so handicaps the ability for a commissioner to rise into leadership in the state and in the country. And I think it takes a while to really learn how to navigate a lot of the things that we have to know to vote on. And I think it's gonna be development attorneys
And who's pushing?
running the
this-
show.
Who's pushing that bill?
Governor.
I know they started with the school board.
Yes,
And then
and-
somehow the commissioners got looped into it.
And then they added us to it.
But
So-
I mean, it takes us, once you get a road approved through the MPO list, it takes 5 years to get it built,
Yeah.
Oh, I
and-
know.
right? What are we doing?
And Commissioner Long we were talking about when we were in London, and she did 5 trips to Washington to bring back those billions of dollars for their Sunrunner. I mean, that was not an easy thing for them, but now they're in the running, you know, and they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars back. But that was relationship building with DOT up there at FTA. And so I think it's gonna put Florida at a disadvantage. I really do. So I just,
Yeah, I agree.
if they feel that term limits, I agree with folks that say term limits, you bring them on yourself, because if you're doing a bad job, they're gonna vote you out of office. But if you feel that you need to have some term limits, perhaps 12 is a better number. Certainly better than 8. At 8 years, you're really catching your stride.
I think 12's the right number. I've been here now 6, and I've got very good projects that are moving that personally, if I leave in 2 years, I wouldn't see fruition on all these things I've worked very hard for. And the next commissioner might come in and
Just kill it all. Yeah.
stop it or whatever, you know? I don't think anybody wants that.
Were you gonna say
Good
something?
stuff we work at.
Yes, that's Senate Bill 1110 and House Bill 477. The House bill has made it through the House, now has been given to the Senate. And in the Senate, it only has one more committee to be heard in, which is Rules. It's not scheduled, though, and they meet tomorrow morning. So at this point, I would think that it would already be scheduled. It just depends if Rules Committee is going to meet again.
Well, maybe there's a chance.
Commissioner Starkey, is your mic
I was
off?
thinking the opposite.
Oh,
No, maybe there's a chance they're not scheduling it. I mean, that's what I mean. If it's not scheduled, it might be dying. I don't know if there's anything else that's important on there.
I don't know if Blaze talked about it when we had our meeting up there when Pasco Day, and he mentioned he was gonna go do that.
Yeah.
So if it's gotta be heard in the Senate and it's Blaze,
Well, maybe,
we'll see.
we should be smart about activating folks to contact if we feel something's happening that we don't think is good for our citizens.
All right, did I ask County Attorney?
Yeah,
You're good?
I'm done now.
Okay. Nikki?
yeah, I have 2 items. One, just wanted to talk about our Operation Greenlight. We held an event, it's basically a driver's license reinstatement event for those that have a suspended driver's license due to failure to pay a court obligation. We held it occurred March 30th through April 5th. We held extended office hours for the event. We waived collection agency fees to allow cases to be paid in full or to enter into payment plans. We had some record numbers this year, which we're very excited about. We had 191 cases pay in full, that's 17% increase from last year. We had 445 cases went onto payment plans. That is, really good number here, 354% increase from last year.
Wow.
There was over $21,000 waived in collection agency fees. Driver's license reinstated at the event were 62, which is an increase of 158% from last year. And driver's license made available through the event was 677 made available. So they basically cleared everything here in Pasco County. They might have something in another county that they have to resolve, and that is up 153% from last year. So a very successful event. We're very happy about it. Another thing I wanted to talk about is an event being held this weekend. It is Operation Stand Down, and it is at the Concourse Rotary Pavilion at Safety Town. It is put on by One Community Now, and we work, my office, the judiciary, the state attorney, and public defender, work together with One Community Now to put on Veterans Court, and it takes place on Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event is amazing. It's over the 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and veterans are given the goods and services that they need. And what we do during Veterans Court is, if a veteran has their driver's license suspended and they have obligations that are due on felony or misdemeanor cases, that they go before the court at the site, at the event, and we hold court, and the court will usually waive fees to help the individual get back on their feet, get their driver's license reinstated. So it's a really great event. Again, it takes place Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're looking real forward to that. If anyone is interested in signing up for the event, if there's a veteran that you know would like to, there is on my office's main page, the front page website at pascoclerk.com. There's a link to it. They can sign up for the event. They can also sign up for Veterans Court through that link as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Had a few things. This morning at 7 a.m., I was out with Adam Thomas and our consultants for tourist development. They took a look at Sun West. We took a look to Hudson Beach and also Green Key. I was very impressed with the meeting I had with them yesterday and their enthusiasm to get out there and actually go on the ground. I'm very impressed with them. It was a perfect morning. It was a bright sunshine. The water was clean, clear, and he said it really helped him get a feel. So I encourage each one of you to get him in your districts for whatever you've got to get him out on site there. Definitely taking it all in. Our tourism banquet is coming up on May 12th, 2023, at the Hyatt Place in Wesley Chapel. Registration starts at 5 to 6. Dinner is from 6 to 8. Rondé Barber is our keynote speaker.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
I will tell you, I've nominated the governor, Governor DeSantis, for my chairman award to show support for tourism. So we've invited him. If nothing else, he may give us a video, but we're inviting him. Hopefully, he'll be able to make it. We won't know that till probably like 2 weeks before at the best. So we're working to it. So should be a great event for us. To talk about the homeless meeting we had last night, I thought was very good. Staff was dynamite. Sheriff's office was here. Had a very good conversation. Commissioner Starkey had some great input. She did very well up there to talk about different things. The whole room was full with people, and the discussions were strong. A lot of passions on every single side, and I think it's going to give us some direction to go in the future, where to go, and I think everybody's got a better perspective on everybody's perspective. For those that are really sympathetic, those that aren't, those that are concerned. I thought the whole dialogue was real good.
No, I thought it went really well.
So-
One lady was more vocal than others, but other than that.
Yeah, she was. She was definitely passionate, and for her good reasons.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she was broken into.
Deb Eubank started the whole thing, but I want to say, Sonia, if you would, thank you for all the great work you did.
Yep, good job.
She was like the moderator for the night as well, and coordinated everything to go through. I think it was a lot of good information. I think some good things are going to come out of it. Even Lisa from Holy Ground was here. I tell you, I had gone up there at Thanksgiving bringing some turkeys, but I didn't see her there. They said she wasn't feeling well, but she looked great last night, so
Yeah,
glad to see she's doing so well.
She was a hoot.
Yeah. Okay. The Economic Development Council had their mission trip to London to work with Virgin Atlantic to celebrate their flight. And Virgin Atlantic has now a nonstop, runs daily from Tampa to Heathrow. What a phenomenal plane, phenomenal team. And as Commissioner Starkey said, the check-in things were so easy.
Yeah, it was amazing.
When I took my return flight back, I literally just was at the airport, and I'm stressed out. We're like leaving from London, and they don't do it like we do it. They do it where when the plane gets in, then they'll decide what gate you're going to go to. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, you have to wait.
I'm looking, I said,
yeah.
that looks like time, not gate. And I'm looking, and Michelle and I are going back and forth. I think that's it, maybe not. And then sure enough, it was just the time that was being shown in military time. And then finally, when we got to the right person, took us like 3 people to figure it out, they said, your gate will come in once the plane docks, or once the plane is lined up and is landed, they'll tell them where they're going to go. And it goes up from there. So that worked out good. Literally from the time it docked, we had already sat down and got a bite to eat. We walked over to do the check-in, and they were already checking the plane in. People walked right on, and away they went.
That was not my
Amazing.
experiments with British Airways.
Yeah, so Virgin Atlantic, they've got it together. So some interesting, very interesting conversations was going on. We had one of the high directors there, Judah, and we were talking about different things going on. And he was so impressed. He did the opening mark for the reception we had at the hotel we're at. And while we're there, he started talking about the different things they do. And one thing I was unaware of, but Virgin Atlantic actually does hotels. So I talked with him extensively about that. And the gentleman from Delta, when Delta and Virgin Atlantic partnered to put this line together. So the guy from Delta, Fabiano, he's Brazilian. He was like hyping about how great. I started talking about foot volley. He goes, yeah, but paddle tennis has really taken off. So they play that on the beach. He showed me a picture. It looked like one about a half a mile long. People just playing paddle tennis out there. So I took him online. I showed him a picture of Sun West, what was going on there. He got really excited about it. And then the gentleman from Virgin Atlantic was there. We talked about putting the hotel out there. So the site we go, and I've already got the information rolling back and forth now, but they could put a Virgin Atlantic hotel out there. Try to imagine Pasco County being featured with, let's say, tiki huts like Bora Bora in our secondary lake, going around there for a destination for them.
Yeah.
I think it'd be awesome
And
for tourism.
paddle
Ask
tennis.
them. Yeah, I think it'd be awesome for Pasco and all sorts of tourism stuff. So that'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
I was also very enthused with Moffett being there.
Yeah.
Henry Reyes is phenomenal. We were like going back and forth, and Commissioner Starkey and I were getting ready to go on a bus to go see an event for the bridges. And I says, maybe we should take a look at this. So Commissioner Starkey was very smart. She went over to do the first one. I went with Henry to make sure we were there. So literally, as we're getting to the event we're going to, Commissioner Starkey's already done the event. She's riding with Bill Cronin on the way to the same meeting we're going to go to. So we're kind of joking with these people that are going to bring in big things, or can bring in big things, that have done big things in London for projects, that I says, if you had one more commissioner, we have a quorum to vote this through. So they love the support, they love the ideas, and for everything I think that we did was phenomenal in actually starting market, because it's the #1 economic development trader we have is the UK. So now that they've actually left the union, it's even stronger for them to look for other people to partner with. And I tell you, I saw a lot of cool things that were out there.
Here's the sad thing, though, that they left the EU. Although I had 9 minutes to shop in this whole trip. That's very sad. We were there for 3 nights, and that's all the time I had. But you don't get the VAT, the tax back. So if you've ever shopped overseas, I mean, that's one of the good things. Shopping over there is you don't have to pay the tax, and you get a good amount of money back. You don't get that in England, so I think that's going to hurt them more. That's the biggest problem for them leaving the EU.
All right. Well, some interesting things I saw over there. This is a building, and if you notice in the building, there's a street sign.
Yep.
They don't have them on the road. They put them in the buildings. Really interesting. Go to the next slide. Now, this is an idea I have. Street lights. Look how small they are. Now, for us, for our bigger roads with 6-lane roads, probably not going to work.
But
I'll
those
tell
are
you
in the
what.
city, slow traffic.
Well, so you're right in the middle, it's city slow traffic, but I'm thinking, like, even though we just talked about maybe putting one at that Fairwinds Road, would coming out, or even a Colony and Fairwinds, that's a sign that can go a lot less expensive, a lot less maintenance, easier to see driving up on a roadway. Maybe we should take a look at that.
I bet our guys would say, car's going to hit it, liability.
And maybe that's why they protect them like they do, or you put curbing around it, et cetera. But I'll tell you what, for small intersections, it may be something to take a look at.
Yeah.
Do you have any more pictures?
I know you like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the buses. All right, so-
He kept talking about the bus
So we're talking about bus
everywhere.
benches. This is like a double both. Sometimes the people are going to sleep on benches. We've had to take out a couple down at the Wawa on Holiday, one in front of Beacon Woods. But you can't sleep on that bench. But you can sit on it, and they even put a rail in between it if it gets too long. They're no different than the size of ours, but that width of a bench would keep anybody from going to sleep on it, which I think is something worthwhile to take a look at. Just saying.
We had a motion or a request for a motion to put something like
Let's
that.
bring it back at the MPO, I guess. Go ahead and go to the next picture.
Yeah, take that MPU.
That's all you got? All right. Some of the things I thought was interesting, like we say the word yield.
I knew you were going to say that.
We say the word, you know what they say? Give way. We have the sign that says, I'm telling you, we have the word exit. They use the word way out. I thought it was pretty funny. Now, through it all,
Would be
we had some great meetings, and I'll tell you, the region was working very, very well together. You know, we're all talking positive about each other and
Yeah.
working together, just everybody talking positive about what they had going on and how we want to try to make things happen. And from that, you know, I'll say Mayor Castor, Mayor Welch, Mayor Angst, was just phenomenal to get everybody together. Commissioners were there, and just everybody working together. And I just got a notice from Bill Cronin. I just got invited to a summit for the Crew Tampa Bay Economic Summit that's coming up June 13th.
Nice, that's nice.
They had initially just the 3 city mayors going. Now they've added the chairman of the county commission to go as well, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to be
Just
right in the
him?
What's that?
Just him?
Just him, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of each.
Okay, Commissioner,
Yeah.
one of the funny, I just sent Bill, Mike the picture, but one of the funny euphemisms that I thought was kind of funny, so the first reception was at Beefeaters. I think it was to keep everybody awake. But you know how we say fanny pack? They say bum bag. So I thought that was pretty funny. A bum bag. I know, I thought that was so funny too. We were all like, look, a bum bag. A fanny pack, the thing you put around your waist?
Yeah.
Yeah, a
I
bum
don't
bag.
usually carry one, but
No.
that's okay.
It's good that
But
you
I
got
have
it.
some. I always wear them when I'm snow skiing.
All right, and I'd say, so it was a great trip, delighted we went. Commissioner Stark, I know you've gone to the Germany trips, et cetera, but this I thought was
Yeah,
excellent
this,
as well,
this is
so.
my first airline inauguration. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been with Global Tampa Bay, but this one was originally predicated on this, to celebrate and bring attention to this new nonstop.
Yeah, and I tell you, Moffett was extremely happy that we were there.
Yeah.
So it was just a phenomenal trip. One last thing, as we had the meeting this morning, that Somebody Cares offered to help us out with cleaning out these homeless camps.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know how we do it, but I recommend we try to engage them and get them working. They work on only donations, but somehow if we can make an arrangement to help them out, that would be great.
So what are we gonna do about all the garbage that's on county property? That was brought up this morning.
Well, I guess if it's on county property, it's probably our responsibility to clean it up. So we would just need to see what we've got and figure it out. And I'll talk with Branford and Code can get together and
Is
figure out
it
those
in these
areas.
places where you're talking about with the homeless? Is that what
And
you're
I
talking
bet there's
about?
some more off of Sunray, Kathy. I bet, I haven't walked in there, but I'm not walking in there by myself. If there is on our property, we should clean it up. And I think we have it off of 52, 54. Kelly Funk knows where that site
Right,
is.
Last item I have, I introduced the Citizens Academy the other day. And when I was there, Jeff Steinsnyder was at the mic. And I had just walked in, so I don't know exactly how the question started or went, but Jeff was being asked about lawsuits going on, and he mentioned the one with us and the clerk. And the conversation was pretty heated with the people wondering why this was still going on. So I don't know how long we plan to go on this there, but one of the questions they were asking, how much money we're spending on attorney's fees for all this stuff. And I don't know if we want to keep this thing going on, but I'm going to make you aware that people are asking questions about it.
Yeah. We can't discuss that here.
Just throwing it out there. And that's all I have. We're adjourned.
Wrong terminology. What'd they say? We out.
County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish,